Alright guys, so I'm finally getting around to doing my video on the GetRC Naked Hero 8. This is something I've had for quite a while now. I actually ordered it as soon as I saw it on their Instagram. I think I ordered it within about 10 minutes of it appearing, and it took a while for me to get it because I guess it was still in pre-order, and so I didn't. After I placed the order, I think it took about a month and a half before I got it, and then I've been playing around with it for the last month and a half or so. So this has been out for a while. You've probably seen videos from some other channels on this already. And of course, I have featured the footage from this camera already on the Cinelog 30 video, and it's been on some other videos as well. I don't remember exactly which all ones I've been using them on, but yeah, I have a fair amount of use on this camera now. I can kind of give you my thoughts and what I've experienced so far with this and who I think this is going to be for and who it's not going to be for. So first off, right off the bat, elephant in the room, this is a very expensive product. People are going to say, yeah, you can just buy the case and the BEC, which by the way, this is a spare case that comes in the box, which is nice because you'll probably break it at some point. For sure, it's not made of steel, it's just plastic. Case and BEC do-it-yourself kit is, I think, running about $40, depending on which shop you get it at. And you can certainly do it yourself. The Hero 8 is a camera that's been out for a long time, so I'm not going to talk about the features of the Hero 8 or the video quality. There's already many reviews on the Hero 8, so the video quality is the same. It is running some beta firmware, which I'll explain here in a second, but for the most part, I can't tell any difference between the video quality that I'm seeing off of the naked Hero 8 here and my actual full-size Hero 8 that is, not disassembled with just, regular firmware. But of course, many people are going to say that they can just buy Hero 8 for about $300, I think is what the running price is on Amazon, and tear it apart and build their own, which absolutely you can do. And there's lots of people that are very capable of doing that and have, a lot of DIY experience. And of course, buying it pre-built like this is not going to be for you. So I'm not going to be recommending that for those kind of guys. If you want to do it yourself, by all means, go for it. Now, the downside here is if you're not as experienced with tearing apart a GoPro camera, which is, somewhat intimidating, not that easy to do, although there are a lot of tutorial videos on how to do it. You can run into problems and you can create irreversible damage if you don't do it properly. I have seen many guys take on the task of the DIY project. They're like, oh yeah, everyone says it's easy. And then they go through 2 or 3 Hero 8s later and they're like into this project for $1,000 and they're like, that they have no usable cameras. So if you're one of those guys that isn't confident that they can do it on the first shot, um, you might be destroying a $300 camera and not have anything to show for it at the end. You may want to consider just buying it pre-built. So that's kind of the sort of the bar you have to set for yourself, is whether or not you want to take on that project to determine whether or not you want to buy the pre-built one or the do-it-yourself. Because I know a lot of guys that have taken on this project and have spent a lot of money on breaking a lot of cameras and not having a usable product in the end. So that's something to consider. If you want to, if you're one of those guys that wants to take on that risk, of course, by all means, go for it. Okay, so now with that out of the way, let's just get into what you get here with the camera. So you get the camera itself, of course, pre-built with the BEC and all the naked Hero 8 parts inside. Obviously, the main board and the little screen that shows what's going on with the camera when it's recording and stuff like that. You get a lot of documentation. Of course, you get a manual. You get a documentation on the BEC board. This is stuff that you would get with the BEC board kit. You get the spare case, and this is what it looks like. It's a pretty nicely engineered case. It is very similar to the Snow 4K case. It has the same sort of feel in terms of the plastic. It does have this little nub in the back, which I do not like. This is on one of the Smo 4K cases. There's a flat back version as well. I'm not sure if mine was a mistake and this was supposed to be a flat back version, Yeah, I got two of these. So the one on here that's attached to the Synolog has the same nub in the back. If you got one that has a flat back with not the nub, let me know in the comments below. I'm curious because I think they all come like this. I haven't got a clear answer from GipRC about that yet. So the disadvantage, well, the advantage of this is that it's easy to mount. So you can see this is the mount that it comes with. You can attach this to some other drones like the Phantom, the Smart 35, the Crocodile Baby will fit this one. I think all of their mount holes are the same size, so you can put this on there. That's the mount that goes to the mount base that goes to the drone, and then the camera mounts to that, as you can see right there. That's one of the mounts that's already pre-installed on the Synolog 30, and you just use a screw and hold it on. Now, it's quick and easy. It is also the least amount of weight. There's no additional weight here, but the camera is very exposed. So you crash at all, and this gets twisted. Basically, that part here in the back of the camera, this part here isn't that super strong. It's just going to snap right off, and you'll have to replace the back. Of course, this is why they include spare parts, which is nice. Because if you crash, you'll probably break this, and probably break the glass as well. So this is some sort of glass that protects the lens. This will probably break as well. I've seen a lot of people break this one as well as the ND filter. And I think these are either very cheap glass or some sort of plastic. They scratch pretty easily, I've seen. You only get an ND16, no ND8 or ND32. You can see there's ND16 on there. I don't know why that is. I mean, ND16 is fine. It's going to work for most cases, for most situations. Unless you're in extremely bright conditions. So, for example, you're in a clear sunny day on a mountain slope with a lot of snow, you're going to get huge amounts of overexposure from the reflections off the snow, and in which case you need like an ND32 or ND64. But then that's a pretty unusual situation. Not everyone's going to be in that situation. So, ND16 is going to meet the needs of most people. Hopefully, they'll come out with additional options. Of course, there's third-party options available, 3D printed parts, etc. I'm not going to get into all that. I'm sure there's plenty of suggestions going to be down in the comments on what to do by that. But yeah, it is unfortunate that you only get an ND16. I would have liked to have seen an ND8 and 32 as well. Those would have been good, but that's what it is. Hopefully they'll come up with those additional parts later down the road. But back onto the mount here. I would have liked to have seen the flat back option because it makes making the mounts rather difficult to create. So I actually had someone make a mount for me. I didn't actually make this, and this is the standard iFlight mount here, the mini mount. And you can see it has a little space here for the little nub, so the camera can fit in there. And I'll just put in the empty case here. You'll see that fits. So I actually prefer this mounting method because then you can take the camera out and switch it between different drones versus having to unscrew and screw this screw here to mount it. So you can see this fits perfectly on here, and this holds it just fine. But yeah, if you guys are interested in this, I know the guy that sent this to me. He does not want to be outed, I guess. He doesn't want any attention, so you have to go through me if you're interested in that. Send me a comment or a message me, and I can tell you how much it costs. It ain't cheap. So yeah, I paid a fair amount of money for this one, but I think I would prefer this one because I can move these from drone to drone, or move the camera from drone to drone, which is what I would prefer rather than having it stuck on one. But if you only have one drone, I guess it doesn't matter at that point. Now, regarding the firmware that's on here, I think it's from their GoPro Labs, and it has the ability to use the QR codes to change your settings, which is good because there's no screen. And of course, you can connect it to your phone via Wi-Fi. You can see the settings on this little mini screen as well. But this is actually much simpler. I actually like the settings changing method here with the QR codes. So they have basically two different ones that are already pre-printed. 4:3 mode, 4K, 30 frames per second for real steady go. And so basically, this is meant for real steady go people, which is obviously the target audience of this camera. It's got Pro Tune flat turned on, for example, white balance set, etc. See all settings here, and then there's another one here. So they have this one here with the ND16, 2.7K forward 3 mode, 60 frames per second, real steady go. So you can do 4K 30 or 2.7K 60 is basically what you get out of real steady go for these two. These are probably the two most common settings for the camera. If you want to go outside of that, you're going to have to get the GoPro Labs app and then make your own settings. And they just basically, put the card of the camera and it'll change the settings for you. It's pretty simple. Okay, so one more thing to note. What you'll want to do is take off the back of the camera as soon as you get it and apply some epoxy to the plug where it meets the board. So I put a little photo up here what that looks like. You get a screwdriver. It's a Penelope, I think. It's a non-standard screw. Take the 6 screws off, remove the back, and I highly recommend securing or reinforcing that plug here, because when you crash, that plug will get ripped off the board, because the only thing that's holding that plug on is solder. And this is a locking plug, which I don't like. I wish it would just pull out, but it doesn't. And yeah, you're going to want to reinforce it, because even in a minor crash, I've seen from people just very minor crashes, that plug gets ripped off the board because this little plug here gets locked. The other thing you can do is you could basically clip off this little locking part here. Is one other suggestion they would have. Some people have done that, but then there is a chance that they could vibrate out while you're flying. So that that could happen, and then you lose your recording that way. So it kind of depends on what you want to deal with in terms of risk. I think the epoxy is fine. That'll hold unless you have a really severe crash, and then basically the whole camera's going to be foobar at that point. You might as well get a new one, because it's not. This is not meant for people that are going to be doing freestyle or racing, any kind of things where you're going to be crashing. Do not get this if you're one of those kind of guys, because or get it if you have like deep pockets and you don't care about the money. I mean, crash 10 of these, you're out $5,000. But if that's no big deal for you, then yeah, go for it. But yeah, if you're going to crash, you're going to break this thing. You look at it funny, you sneeze, this thing will break. So trust me, you don't want to be spending the money on this kind of stuff if you don't know what you're doing. If you crash a lot, etc. And this is basically for people that fly cinematically. For cinewups here, not really in a situation where you're going to be like crashing into stuff and basically wrecking it. You're going to be basically flying very predictably and smoothly, and in a way that it's not going to put a lot of risk to the camera. Then this is going to be more for you, because basically you've stripped out everything that makes the camera durable, is to make it light. And when you crash this thing, it's just going to break the case, hopefully. More likely you'll break the BC board, and then worst case scenario you'll break like the whole, basically the main board, possibly just the lens. Hopefully the ND filter and the glass will save you from that. You just get a spare case. But yeah, if you're one of those guys that are flying bandos and stuff, and you just want to fly like a micro and you want to capture 4K footage, basically the nicest 4K footage, and be prepared to spend a lot of money, because when you crash, you're going to be wrecking this thing and it's going to explode. You're not going to have a good day. So I don't recommend this for those kind of flyers. Anyway, it's going to do for this one. Obviously there's a lot of alternatives out there for a naked GoPro. You could also go for a Hero 6, which is cheaper, and do it yourself as well. Although there are no pre-built options for Hero 6 or Hero 7 at this time that I know of. This is the only one, the Hero 8. Of course, there's other options like the iFlight GoCam, the Beta FPV Smoke 4K camera that also are things that you can buy. But the image quality is not going to be as good as the Hero 8. So you get what you pay for. If you want the best quality in this kind of form factor, you're going to have to basically shell out the money for it. There's really no option for that, or you have to take the risk of going for the cheaper option, the DIY option, and hopefully praying that you are able to successfully do it on your first attempt. That's all I got to say about this. Links down in the description below if you're interested in checking out the camera. Again, like I said, this is not for everybody. really for a very specific target audience. If you're outside that, I really don't recommend this camera or spending that kind of money for this. So that's going to do it for this one. Talk to you guys later.